Thank you for that. No. Thank you for that.
Did you text him?
We ready?
I don't know. Richard's doing. Waiting to get a text back.
Did he call you today? No?
I talked to him at 20 after 4. I thought he wasn't
Called me
coming
back,
back.
executive said he would be here for the regular meeting.
Not gonna be here for the regular.
Well, we're running late, so...
Yeah, we are.
Well,
And I've got a long
do I
night.
have, call to order. Have a roll call, please.
Mr. Bell?
Here.
Mr. Brown?
Here.
Mr. DeFalco? Mr. Dow?
Here.
Mr. Jones?
Present. Okay. Could everybody rise for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag? Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Remain standing for the prayer.
We ask you to guide and grant us wisdom and understanding. Make us ever mindful of our responsibilities to serve those who have entrusted us with their confidence, to govern and serve this township. We ask this in your name. Amen.
Could we remain standing for a moment of silence for the victims of the terror in Boston and those that died and are suffering in Texas? Okay. Verification of notice.
This meeting is being held in compliance with the Open Public Meeting Act, Chapter 231, Public Laws 1975, and certification is on file in the office of the township clerk.
Communications.
We have a proclamation celebrating Arbor Day.
Yeah, I did see that. We don't actually have anybody to present it to, should we? Let's read it. We have a
Randy's here.
we have a proclamation. Oh, you want to stand up? I'll read it to you and give it to you.
I give it to you, you back.
All right. Okay. Let's see how we do here. All right, celebrate Arbor Day. Okay, we have a proclamation for Arbor Day. Celebrate Arbor Day, whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for planting of trees, and whereas this holiday called Arbor Day was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska, and whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world, and whereas trees can reduce the erosion of precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce life-giving oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife, and whereas trees are a renewable resource, giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products, and whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community, and whereas trees, whenever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. Now therefore I, Richard Dow, Mayor of the City of Mount Holly, do hereby proclaim April 26, 2013 as Arbor Day. The City of Mount Holly, and I urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day and to support the efforts to protect our trees and woodlands, and further, I urge all citizens to plant trees to gladden the heart and promote the well-being of this and future generations dated this 22nd day of April, 2013.
Mayor, if you'll sign this one, you can give the official one to Ms. Rothmel.
Thank you. There you go. Now that counts towards our points for sustainable or anything like that?
What this will count to is one of the things, we want to become a tree city, that we need to have this as a tree city. The only other thing that we don't have right now is a tree ordinance, which I'd like to start with, a tree protection ordinance. And once we have that, we can become a tree city. And then we can actually give the points to plateau and grant.
Yeah, I think we'll consider, the YouTube there. If you don't mind, thank you.
Proclamation? Yeah, that's right.
Thank you.
All right. Were we gonna do a proclamation for Earth Day as well?
Yes, I forwarded that to Charlotte, that'll be the next meeting.
All right.
I sent you the,
Okay, any other communication?
The only thing I have that I'd like to bring up, and I forgot at the beginning, you'll see behind me there's a camera, as directed, we talked about putting the meetings on RVTV. Equipment just came in, we're just doing some test runs with it this meeting. We did some testing today, we already found that we need a different cord for the sound. I don't know, the kid at the high school was talking technical stuff. So it's like a $2 part. So I'm going to swing the Radio Shack and pick one of those up. And then the sound will be better. So tonight all we're doing is we're running it. They're going to look at it, tell us what we need to do different with it and everything like that.
Okay. All right. Okay, we have public questions on ordinances. Mayor's statement. Please state your name and address for the record. Public comment during this portion is limited to questions on below resolutions only. I guess that's below ordinances only. Ordinances only.
This is for the second reading. You should introduce it, if there's a motion and second, then we'll go to public on each one.
On each one.
Or each one, the point really doing it ahead of time.
Okay. All right, so ordinances for second reading, final passage. We have ordinance 2013-4, ordinance amending the Code of Mount Holly Township, section 3-70 through 3-70.6, Mount Holly Recreation Advisory Committee to amend those sections of the code relative to the existing requirements of the Mount Holly Recreation Advisory Committee. Do I have a motion on this ordinance?
I'd like the motion 20-13-04, please.
I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. All right, so at this point, I'll open this up for discussion to the general public. Is anyone from the general public that wants to discuss this, please comment. Please come forward to the microphone, and as previously stated, give your name and address for the record. I'm going to open this, my right, your left, the first row, second row, third row, side. Okay, my left, your right, the first row.
You and Mohammed, thank you. I have a question for the second ordinance, the vacant lot.
Well, we're going to do them separately.
Oh, okay.
All right, this is on the recreational ordinance, 2013-04. Anyone else in that row? No? Next row? Next row? Back row? Okay. All right, seeing no discussion from the public, I'd open this, close it to the public, open it up for discussion amongst the council. And is there any discussion by council? I have none. All right, seeing none, I myself would like, I wanted to understand what this covers. So what is this, and for the general public, so what exactly is this amending then?
Well, it was based upon the discussions that the council had at the meeting when you discussed some changes to it. We changed section 3-70 so that the rec committee is appointed at January at the reorganization each year. So to 1-year terms or as soon thereafter as possible. The township manager appoints the members, so there's no change there. And then if there's any vacancy, the appointment shall be for the balance of that term. Again, it was the township manager who will be making the appointments, that's made clear. And it does make the change for the rec director. In section 3-70.2, the appointment power is for the council for the director as opposed to the manager. And that's a basic summary of the ordinance.
Well, at the work session, I was a little confused, because at the work session, when we discussed it, we were, according to my notes, we were on agreement that we were going to give the appointment to the council from the manager, and that we were going to craft it towards the, as a, basically, for uniformity, in the shape of the IT committee ordinance, which we had previously voted on last year, that Councilman DeFalco had put together. And the key pieces in there was that the council appoints the members of the rec committee, and that the rec committee members, once appointed, serve at will, so that we would be able to address any issues that aren't addressable through the attendance policy that covers all of our boards and committees. And we were also going to have a spot for the mayor or his designee on there, the same as we have for the IT committee. And I guess what my position is I would like just to see uniformity amongst our committees. And again, we did go probably 45 minutes into discussing this thing at the work session. So those were the things that we covered, and I'm not sure, where the direction changed. But those are the objections that I have. I was in favor of crafting or rearranging this amendment to basically have uniformity with the IT committee. I thought that we had agreement on that. So that's where I'm coming from with it.
Well, I know that initially, the initial draft of it did indicate that the council was going to appoint the members. I spoke to the chief about it. My understanding was that had changed at a later point in time. But that was my understanding of it. I mean, certainly, you can reject this ordinance as it's written and start from scratch. I think it's probably just a good idea to, let me know what you want. Either way, it's not.
Well, I guess where I'm coming from,
Presently, there is.
This again came up at one of the meetings in March, and there was some of the change around again was discussed. I don't remember exactly what or why, but that was it had come up again, and it was the rec director would be appointed by council and leave the other stuff as it was.
well, I reviewed the minutes from the two meetings that I wasn't at, and there was nothing reflective in the minutes. And I guess that, where I'm coming from is that if the direction was changed between the work session that we had, which we kicked around pretty thorough, and what was then written, I just would like to know where it came from, because, that's what I thought this council was about, was transparency and clarity and putting everything right here in front of the public. So, now would be the time to say where this came from, because this is not, what we discussed when we kicked it around, at the work session, which the minutes clearly show what we were talking about at the work session. There was no objections, there was no further discussion. It was, we were going to go with the IT format, and if we're not going with the IT format, then, I would say that going forward, maybe we should look at, what was the advantage of why did we craft the IT committee format that way? And is that also need to go to the manager? We had years of finger pointing back and forth that this appointee was made by the manager, so, council didn't bear any responsibility. And, I thought that, that was one of the reasons why we were looking to bring these appointments, not just for this committee, but for the Historical Commission as well, to bring these appointments back to council so that the people that are appointed, whatever their performance is, the council members that appointed them would be directly accountable to the electorate, to the residents of this town. While for years we had the manager did this. Oh, well, okay then, manager did this. So that was the reason why the manager piece, I thought we were all on the same page with the manager piece.
Was there not a portion that we discussed at the meeting, and correct me if I'm wrong, that we had talked about appointments? I said, tell me who you want to appoint, we'll appoint him. And then there was a section where it was pretty much, I think they asked Mr. Brown to take a look at the ordinance because him and Mr. Jones were the rec.
I'm pretty sure at the end of the day, what was discussed was, what we're looking to do is make some better clarity of the current ordinance and give a lesser term of responsibility for the individuals that are on that particular board by reducing it to 1 year without modifying the ordinance in its entirety. And obviously directing the director, if there would be one, to the council to do its due diligence on finding out who should be there to best qualify as the director position per the current ordinance, the way it's stated. We didn't want to rework the whole thing, and I understand, Rich, when we had that work session and we discussed having the IT ordinance, which again, thank you, was put together by myself with putting some responsibility there. When the IT ordinance was created, it was under the concept of technically structured individuals that understand the concept behind information technology. This way, those individuals who are on that committee can form a non-biased opinion on what needs to get done to upgrade this township technical-wise. And that requires interviews, just like if they're going for a job. What's their qualifications, how many years in the job have they had? This way they can put real, actual commentary towards what they have to get done here in the township. With the recreation one, I don't think a consensus, you weren't here for that one discussion we had that Steve was talking about, but we went back and forth for about 20 minutes on it, and I think at the end of the day, like Steve said, he'll put who we want there, so, if we want X, Y, and Z, and we've done a due diligence on there, he will do that. And that's where it is as far as today, what you see here in front of you, in its fourth rendition of the ordinance.
Well, again, we're blessed to have Steve at the helm and, as well as the chief. But you and I know that we have had appointments made by past managers that we didn't even know were made until we looked at the sheet and we said, it was like, who are these people? So, the fact of the matter is that things change, and, that was where we were going with it. And the accountability aspect of the elected officials being responsible for who they put or who runs these, these committees or who are on these committees was the underlying issue, period. And, we all know the turmoil that this town had for several years under different managers that created the atmosphere of who's running the town. We had a resident that's here right now that basically said he doesn't understand, how a manager can just go and do what this manager wants to do when the manager answers to the council. But the reality is that if you don't have the votes to change that manager then can do whatever they appoint whoever they want.
Well, I'm pretty sure with this council, we have the votes to make sure who's in there does their job for the benefit and betterment of the township. And without, being said, obviously Steve is doing a phenomenal job. And, I understand what you're saying, but as long as the residents in the township do a good job and putting the elected officials in this seat, we will continue to do our job in making sure those who serve professionally in this township, as well as be manager, do what their job is. And if not, then they will no longer have a job in the township. It's as simple as that. And there's no other candid way to say that. And I understand your fear of what might happen in the future with an elected official, but at the end of the day, you know, it comes down to the five of us doing what's best for the township. And right now, Steve is doing a good job, and he will put in there who we recommend to them. It's not going to be a quasi thing which has happened in the past where people randomly will put on there. Obviously, Steve won't be the manager forever, and when his replacement is on there, again, it is our due diligence to put someone in there that is like-minded, professional, and works for the township with the council to do a job that needs to get done. Otherwise, we've failed all the residents in this township.
Mr. Mayor, can I point out something else? As if you recall, I had the discussion with you. I think one of the ways you can solve part of this problem is in the past, I noticed Mount Holly, they have appointments as a separate section. My suggestion is that you direct the manager and myself to review the agenda for basic reorganization purposes, and my point in saying this is each appointment should be by resolution, a resolution appointing, whether it be professionals, members of the planning board, or whoever. Part of the reason for that is you will know every year what comes up. You'll know that every 3 years the judicial appointment comes up, for example. By doing it by resolution, you can refer back to other years and not just have things get lost. As to part of that, part of what this does is it does make clear in section 3-70 B that it's done at the reorg meeting or as soon thereafter as possible. That way it's on the agenda, just like every other appointment.
So it's not hidden in the back room, but it just got appointed from a phone call.
And part of that should be, my suggestion is it be done by resolution. Regardless of what the appointment is, the resolution be drafted for that, and then the floor is open for nominations to that position. Or, you know, in this case, the manager could fill in the blanks and it's by resolution of the council.
So does that mean that the manager at the current time would then, is that a point to nominate, because if it's going to resolution and we have to pass a resolution, and if we don't pass the resolution, what happens to
Confirming his appointments really is what you're doing.
Okay.
And we can make those changes if you want. My point is to keep it uniform. Like, part of the goal here was to do it in January. You're trying to get everything switched from the July to January, and I know there's been other questions on that.
The other thing, doing it by resolution too, is that you pretty much, if you have somebody sitting in this seat that doesn't want to communicate that to you, you're forced to. But you're not going to pass a resolution with somebody's name on it you don't know anything about.
It would be, for that one, it would be a resolution confirming the manager's appointments, for example. Now, it sort of takes the power back. We have to change the ordinance to do it that way, but either way, it's spelled out for all these appointments, so you know what comes up each year.
And that would cover every appointment, not just the
Every one
rec
of them should have on the agenda, it should be listed so that you keep track of it.
Now, is this something that we can generalize in a non-specific ordinance, that all appointments that are done through, it has to come past through a resolution, or is that per?
That's a matter of preference, you wouldn't have to do it, I mean, you could do it by, like you said, nominations or things like that that you've done in the past. I mean, it's been listed as nominations for planning board and things like that, but I would put it in a resolution,
So a resolution would cover it all.
each one. I mean, each year,
Does that sound rich?
every year you're gonna have a resolution for the appointments of the.
Well, that would at least bring it to the attention of council.
And the public.
And the public, so you would have, you would have that in there. You had the at-will in the IT resolution, so that we wouldn't have issues where members of the committees that we've, or somebody that we've appointed, for lack of better words, weren't holding up to the task. I mean, you can get them for attendance, but you cannot, and basically they can manipulate attendance by just hitting one and then missing two, hitting one, missing
Actually,
two.
with this specific ordinance, because I had asked George about this, and there is no set specific time frame. So if it's 5 in general, not 5 consecutive. So regarding the attendance portion of this resolution, and we have the ordinance.
I didn't look at the rest of them.
We've talked about this before, and I was under the understanding that the attendance ordinance that council passed superseded everything else as far as the individual attendance requirements or wording of any other ordinance like this one here. So we have an attendance ordinance that covers all boards, including the MUA. So, and that is 3 consecutive meetings. All right, so, and that would be, I mean, we would need to look into that, but if that's not correct, then I'd like to know it, but I know there was a lot of hay made about it when it was introduced and when it was passed. Because we had residents that, and it says the council may take the member out for that attendance issue. Not that they will, but they may, and it was 3 consecutive. So, and again, you missed 2, you're there for 1, which is some of the issue that we had at the MUA at one particular time. Then basically you're talking about somebody that's there every 3 months, every 3-month cycle. So again, I would ask you put the at-will in place in the IT committee piece. Why did you put that? Why wouldn't that be good for this and all these other committees? and boards?
I thought there was a reason why we didn't do that, something about there needing to be a term limit on it, and the minimum was a year. I could be wrong.
I think to shorten the term on this,
Right.
but I don't have the original one.
Well, the original was 3 years.
3 years.
Yeah.
Are you
Keep in
sure?
mind, there's other sections to this where I think the police
What's your thought? I'm gonna cut
has a
you off.
separate appointment for a couple members of
I
this,
just
right?
want to say what we, as members, you appointed Jason, myself, as
The subcommittee people.
The subcommittee people. And basically, what we have been doing is interviewing people with their applications, and we've had 2 meetings at this point. And, I mean, the people who are there are very serious. They're serious about recreation in Mount Holly and taking care of the children in the community. And I don't think anyone that we have on there doesn't care about, and they're very serious about what's going on in this town. We would not put anyone on there if they weren't serious about what we're serious about. This is what we ran under. This is what we want to do for this town. We want to get this town back together. We want to get the kids under control and make this town better. And that's the only way we're going to make this town better. The kids have something to do. And me, myself, Mr. Jones, we wouldn't put anybody in place if they didn't care. So, I mean, that's just basically what I have to say about that.
Well, the fact of the matter is that situations change, and this is just an overall, this is the overall rule of, that governs this committee. So it's just having the language, it's having the tool in the toolbox if you have a
If we have
situation.
the right language, you'll be fine, okay? We put the right language up there and we'll take a vote.
Now, the 1-year term, does that roll over or does that expire?
Expires.
Expires. So there's no carryover like with the MUA where they stay. It's set like the planning board where if it's not,
Oh, well, it says it must be appointed the first of the year if there was, for some reason, you get the next year, the chief, this year it says I don't have those. For the resolution, I don't be a carryover for a few weeks, but yeah, it says it shall be appointed at the rework or as soon thereafter as possible.
but it could just be, there's no language to prohibit it, just a carryover for an indefinite amount. All right.
That's part of the reason why you
Any-
need the...
Any further
I would say
discussion?
the reason is if the appointments aren't made, you guys direct the manager to make them.
Correct?
Right. Just where they are filled and they're active.
Right. Well, again, things change. So, I remember like yesterday, a councilwoman who we all thought was going to be here for, the term that you filled. And the next day, boom, she came in and she wasn't here. Life is that way. It changes from day to day. So what you see here today isn't necessarily what you will see here tomorrow. So, the business that we're about here is serious business. What we do here is put down and effectively law. So, these discussions are the discussions that should be happening. They should be happening in front of the people, and we should be discussing it and throwing these things back and forth. And, when they change, the people should see how that got there, and what brought that out. and the key word is change. But, you know, I myself was just personally kind of surprised because it went from one thing to another, and also the fact that, you know, you crafted an ordinance on a committee format that was approved unanimously. It had all good merits, at least at the time when we discussed it, and it seems a little, just a little confusing to me that how the format that we had discussed that was the good way of going, that put more control into the hands of the council, you know, would be switched basically to little change. Did we add to the numbers? Was that one of the changes? Did we add to the numbers of the Recreation Committee?
No, it's status quo.
And so that stayed the same? Because I thought that was being changed.
Any number of members we can have on the committee, correct?
The amount of members,
I
right.
think it was something like 12 or 13 or something like that was listed in the current ordinance.
I thought it was actually being reduced down to 9, what it stated.
I don't, the more volunteers we have or more members we have, the better the organization's gonna be.
Sure.
And if we have the people who are willing to do this, I mean, it can not do anything but make it better, because everybody's gonna have something to do and with the kids. And the more people we have dealing with the children, the better it's gonna be.
I didn't mean to interrupt you. Louis, can you turn that LED light off, please?
All
I
right.
can't even look that way, thank you.
Any further discussion? Blaine? Jason? Nope. Lou? Rich? Roll call, please.
Okay. Mr. Belton?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. DeFalco?
Yes.
Mr. Dow?
No. Ordinance passes. Next ordinance is ordinance 2013-5, an ordinance establishing provisions governing the maintenance of vacant and abandoned properties. This ordinance establishes registration and maintenance provisions relative to vacant and abandoned properties. Do I have a motion on this ordinance?
Do the motion for the public?
No, we didn't do that.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 2013-5.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I'll now open this ordinance 2013-5 to the public for comment. Please state your name and address for the record. My right, your left, first row, second row, third row, side wall. My left, your right, first row. Louis, this was the ordinance then.
Good evening.
First, we finally got that person, I just want to say that.
What's this?
We finally got that person in custody.
They finally got this person.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
I just want to point that out.
Yeah, thank God.
Second is, for the empty vacant lot for the Mahati Township, has to be outside on each property is vacant with their owner's name and address. That is true, right? In case there was something, an accident happened on that property, it won't be out of the township, or it will be another person going there, right?
Township will be able to contact who's needed from that notice, and the paperwork filed in the township as well.
And second, last question about this ordinance, the violation. If I keep going, so you do a lien on the property and take over?
Steve?
Yes, if they don't pay the fees, or, you know, if they don't come to court, you know, we lien the property for when it's sold or tax sale or something like that.
And there's no limit before you put a lien?
No, we'll try to make every attempt to collect first, and I mean, if they're issued the ordinance, don't show up in court, They'll also have a little contempt warrant issued for them too.
How this ordinance will affect the Mojave Gardens?
It'll be the same all over town. If you own a property and it's vacant, you'll have to comply with it, whether you're in the Gardens or West Washington Street.
But after the empty houses on the gardens, that being vacant, anything that will affect that, broken windows, the property.
If they're ours, we'll take care of them. If we don't own them, we'll make sure the owners take care of them.
I would like to see the Mojave Township at least pour out the windows, the vacant lots. That, cold air come to the house. It's create condense or more like wall. It goes to transfer to the other house. Because like where I live, next door neighbors got abandoned houses. If that house get cold and more, it get transferred to the next house. I'm just taking care of the gardens. Where I live.
Well, this ordinance, Louis, addresses vacant properties and allows us to get into those properties to make sure that they're maintained inside as well as outside. The issues you've addressed, broken windows, those can be addressed right now without this ordinance. That's
Take a look at that tomorrow morning.
that's code enforcement. This ordinance is for vacant homes so that we can get inside. It increases it increases what we can do as far as staying on top of the maintenance of these properties. And like you mentioned, it brings out the information for the contact sources and also